As a butler or house manager, you are always under a lot of pressure to ensure that everything is just right for your principal and their guests. But how do you make sure that the house is always provisioned just right for them, no matter what happens? Well, here's some tips that's going to help that just be so much easier for you. The life of a high net worth individual can be absolutely frantic. They have the capability of traveling almost anywhere in the world, almost anytime they want. And as cool and as exciting as that may seem, that means they could also come home anytime they want from anywhere they want and bring anyone they want with them. So as a butler or house manager, this is a problem because the house has to always be ready. But you also don't want to be wasteful. Let me explain. You could have all the fridges, all the cupboards full to the brim with food every single day of the week. You could have the linen changed on the beds every single day, even when the principal is away for a month or more at a time. But this would end up really very wasteful. You'd be throwing away full cupboards and fridges full of food, and the laundry bill would be absolutely vast for completely empty rooms. On the other hand, you could go to the other extreme and not top up the fridge at all, not top up the cupboards, not have fresh linen on the beds, not have the place ready when the principal arrives with 20 guests they've suddenly met at a party, and then you're pretty much going to find yourself unemployed. So where's the happy medium between the two? Well, what I like to think of is, what can I get at short notice? The things that I know I can get at short notice, I don't necessarily need to keep in the house at all times. So think about where you are. So if I'm working in a remote Scottish Highland or Canada or somewhere equally in the middle of nowhere, I know I have to keep a lot more in store, because it might be a 2-hour or more drive to go and get the things we need. And even then, they may well not be stocked. If, however, I'm working in the middle of New York or London or any other large metropolitan city, I can be quite confident that 9 times out of 10, I can probably pop round the corner and get whatever I need, almost all day and all night. Next thing we need to think about are those little delicacies, those things that the principal specifically likes, which are very hard to get. Now, every principal has this. Back in the day, one of my principals used to love Korean seaweed. Now, since then, Korean seaweed has really taken off as a trendy food, and now you can find it practically anywhere. But back then, I had to go to a very specific shop in Chinatown, and it was right at the back, and I had to buy it, and it involved quite a prolonged process. And to have this particular Korean seaweed in the Highland Estate and on the super yacht and all these other places required an awful lot of planning. So if your client has something like that they really love and you know it's hard to get, always have way more than you think you need, because it's much better to end up wasting a small amount of it than it is to run out. Anything that doesn't go off at all, get loads. Mineral water, long life products, things like that. Just stock your cupboards up as much as is practical to do so, because there's no reason not to. Things like your Coca-Cola, your mineral water, these things have a year or more date on them. There's no reason to wait for the last minute to buy them. Another really useful thing is to freeze items. There's plenty of food items that you can put in the deep freeze and will stay absolutely perfect, and then you can just defrost them at the last moment. Your main goal is to always be prepared. So I've spoken to you a lot about food, but what about other items? What about things like we mentioned changing the beds? Okay, so when the property is completely empty, changing the beds once a week is plenty, because no one's been in them. Now, you might be thinking, well, why bother changing them at all if no one slept in them? Well, the room should always be ready to use. So this is my reason. If I'm changing the sheets once a week, I know that those sheets have never been on there long enough that I would say to a guest that they couldn't just jump straight into that bed and use them. If those sheets had been on that bed for 2, 3, 4 weeks, now they would be dusty and musty and not good enough for someone to sleep in. But when I know that the absolute maximum they could have been on there is 7 days, or 6 days really, then I know that I'm happy to say to the guest, absolutely sir, your room is ready for you. If you'd like to follow me, I'll show you where it is. The same with things like towels. I always have the rooms completely ready with towels and everything else as well, because if someone arrives, if they've just got off a flight or something like that, they don't want to wait for you to put towels in the room. I would just have them in there ready. When it comes to cleaning, everywhere in the house should always be spotless. I've seen so many, and I also mean me, people fall into the trap of thinking, no one's going to be here for ages, so I won't clean it. Okay, especially when you're having maintenance work done. Like obviously there's lots of regular maintenance work that needs doing. Air conditioning units need to be serviced. All sorts of things that have to be done. And you think, oh, I've got them booked in next week, so actually I won't bother cleaning it now, because I know when they come in next week they're going to make such a mess, and it's such a waste of my time to clean it now just to have to do a deep clean next week. That's a perfectly reasonable logic. Apart from experience, I can tell you what will happen is the client, your boss, will suddenly turn up just in between that moment and the maintenance work being done, and the house is going to be dirty. So unfortunately, sometimes you just need to clean it twice. Items which are completely non-perishable, like soap, toilet roll, tissues, all of these kind of things, I'm sorry, but there's absolutely no excuse to ever run out. You can fill the storeroom with the exact ones that your client likes and make sure you have plenty. Think of your house like a nuclear bunker. If you couldn't leave it for a month, would you have everything that you need? If the answer is yes, then you're doing a great job at preparing the house. One of the biggest wastes of time in any household is popping out to the shops 3 or 4 times in a day. I absolutely hate it. And so many people work like that, it drives me mad. They'll get one thing from the shops and they'll be like, oh, I just realised I now need to go and get something else. Oh, I now need to go and get something else. It drives me mad. In the morning, have a briefing with everyone in the house. Find out what people need. What does the chef need? What do the housekeepers need? What do the butlers need? And of course, most importantly, what does the principal need? And buy it all in one shop. Just leave the house once, get everything you need and come home. There's always going to be something that pops up that you forgot or someone didn't tell you about or something else. That's just life. But at least you have almost everything ready and prepared. Because doing the shopping and things like that always takes much longer than you expect. So remember, a butler house manager is just like a good Boy Scout. You have a very simple motto, and that motto is be prepared. Always have more than you need, but never have so much that you're wasteful. I really hope that that was useful for you. If you would like to see some of my much longer, in-depth live sessions where I talk about house management and butlering in a lot more detail, I do have some membership options. If you want to join, there's various different tiers that you can join at, and you can watch hours and hours of those over and above my regular videos. That's entirely up to you. No pressure. It's just if you want to and if it's going to be useful to you. Either way, I would love you to please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be making a lot more videos soon. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.